Most parents assume that when they pass away, their kids will simply inherit everything they've worked hard for. But here's the part nobody talks about. Your kids don't inherit what you leave them. They inherit what's left after the tax bill is paid. And for many Canadians, that tax bill is much bigger than you think. Large RRSPs, corporations, rental properties, these can all trigger massive taxes when you die. I've seen situations where 30 to 50 cents of every dollar goes to the CRA instead of the family. It's not because people make mistakes with their investments. It's because they didn't plan for what happens at the end. The good news, if you start planning early, there are ways to make sure more of your hard-earned wealth stays in your family and less of it disappears to the government. Hi, I'm Danny Perro, Senior Investment Advisor at CG Wealth Management. Today, we're talking about how to leave a tax-efficient legacy for your kids. This video is for those who have built up wealth, whether through a business, investments, or real estate, and you want to make sure that what you've built actually benefits your family the way you intended. If you don't plan for this, the government has a plan for you. And when you understand how the rules work, you can pass wealth more efficiently and avoid unnecessary delays and give your kids the best possible start. If you find this valuable, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more expert financial content. We love the comments and we respond very quickly. Number one, understand how assets are taxed when you pass away. The first step in legacy planning is knowing what happens the day you pass away. In Canada, death triggers a deemed disposition of all of your assets. That means the government acts as if you've sold everything you own on the last day, and it taxes you accordingly. RSPs and RRIFs, unless your spouse is the beneficiary, the entire value is added to your final tax return as income. $1 million RSP could easily create a $400,000 tax bill in 1 year. Non-registered accounts and real estate. These trigger capital gain taxes on growth since you bought them. Private corporations. Shares are deemed sold, triggering capital gains. Then when money comes out of the company, it's taxed again, unless there's planning in place. This is why some estates get cut in half. The good news? Knowing the rules gives you a head start. Once you know where the tax hits are, you can build a plan around them. Number two, use beneficiary designations and segregated funds to bypass probate. Probate is the legal process of validating a will and distributing assets. It takes time, it can cost money, and it becomes a part of the public record. One of the simplest ways to reduce probate delays and fees is to name beneficiaries directly on accounts that allow it. For example, RSPs and RRIFs, naming a spouse as a direct beneficiary allows those accounts to just roll over without triggering tax. TFSAs, naming a child or a spouse as a beneficiary means the money is paid out tax-free and avoids probate. Segregated funds, investment funds offered by life insurance companies, these can also pass directly to your beneficiaries privately without court delays. This doesn't eliminate the taxes in all cases, but it makes the transfer cleaner, faster, and avoids the probate process. Number three, maximize and strategically use TFSAs. TFSAs are one of the best legacy tools in Canada. Every dollar inside a TFSA grows tax-free, and when you pass away, withdrawals remain tax-free. Unlike an RSP, there's no tax triggered on death for the growth inside a TFSA. And with a named beneficiary, that money flows quickly and directly. Let me give you an example. A couple who maxes out their TFSAs over 30 years could easily have several $100,000 in combined tax-free savings. That money can be inherited without any tax impact. And while TFSAs might not be as big as your RSPs, their tax-free nature makes them incredibly powerful for leaving clean, untaxed wealth to your kids. Number four, use permanent life insurance to cover taxes or replace wealth. This is one of the most strategic tools affluent Canadians use to ensure taxes don't erode their estate. When you die, a permanent life insurance policy pays out tax-free. That payout can be used in two ways. Number one, to pay the tax bill. If you know your estate still owes $1 million in taxes, your kids can use the death benefit to pay the CRA instead of selling assets. Number two, it's used to replace wealth. If you have charitable goals or assets that will be heavily taxed, insurance can replace that value for your family. For business owners, a corporately owned life insurance policy can be even more powerful. Premiums are paid using after-tax corporate dollar, and on death, the death benefit flows into the corporation tax-free. This amount goes into the company's capital dividend account, the CDA, and can then be paid out to the heirs tax-free. This is a way to turn tax-inefficient corporate dollars into tax-free legacy. Number five, consider trusts for complex situations. Trusts aren't just for the ultra-wealthy. They're a planning tool that allows you to control when and how wealth is distributed. Here's where they make sense. Family trust. If you have multiple children, minor grandchildren, or blended family dynamics, a trust ensures wealth is distributed on your terms, not the courts. Estate freeze. If you own a business, you can freeze the current value so future growth accrues to your kids, reducing your eventual tax bill. Special needs planning. Trust can ensure dependents with special needs are cared for without losing government benefits. Trusts come with legal and tax complexity, but in the right circumstances, they protect your wishes and can significantly reduce taxes over time. Number 6, start the conversation early. The last point is often the hardest. Start early and talk about it. Many families avoid these conversations because they feel uncomfortable, but here's what happens when you don't. Taxes take a bigger bite than necessary. Kids fight over the estate because they don't know what you wanted. Assets get stuck in probate for years. Legacy planning isn't just about leaving money. It's about creating clarity, structure, and harmony. I've seen families who started planning in their 50s and 60s save hundreds of thousands in taxes while avoiding disputes. I've seen families who waited until their 80s only to find out most of the good options were no longer available. Here's the thing I want you to remember. What you leave to your family is important, but how you leave it often makes the bigger difference. I've met so many Canadians who work hard for 30, 40 years, build up significant wealth, and assume that when they're gone, it's a simple process of dividing things up equally. But what actually happens without a plan? The CRA becomes one of the biggest beneficiaries of your estate. Your kids wait months or even years to access what you've left them. And in some cases, family relationships are strained because there was no clarity about how things should be handled. And the frustrating part, most of all of this is preventable with planning. When you structure things properly, you can reduce taxes that come due at death. You can make sure your kids inherit assets quickly and privately without waiting for the courts. And you can leave behind a clear plan that preserves family harmony instead of creating tension. For many affluent Canadians, legacy planning is one of the most overlooked areas of wealth management. We spend so much time thinking about how to build wealth that we forget to plan for what happens at the very end. And here's the truth. If you don't have a legacy plan, the government already has one for you. You may not like it, but they do. So the real question is, are you going to leave that decision up to CRA, or are you going to take control now while you still can? This isn't about complicated tricks or loopholes. It's about understanding the rules, using the tools that are available, and putting together a structure in place so that what you've worked hard for and built actually benefits your family, not the CRA. If you want a second opinion on your legacy plan, book a time with me using the link in the description below. We'll sit down, look at the whole picture, figure out where you are, and see if there are steps you can take now to pass on more of what you've built with less loss to taxes and with a clear plan for your family that they can rely on. The earlier you start, the more options you have. My name is Danny Perro, and remember, money never sleeps.